In this lesson, we'll be using buttons to control the timelines inside of a series of nested movie clips. These are movie clips that are embedded inside of other movie clips, and we have one sort of too deep, if you will. I've got a finished file here that I'll use to demonstrate and explain a bit before we build one from scratch. Let me just run it right now and demonstrate what's supposed to happen. I'm just going to run this in my browser. I'm using my keyboard to hit play. And what we have here is I'll say it's like the Earth and the Moon going around the Sun, if you will. And so we have a rotation of the purple ball going around the green ball. And then we have a secondary animation of the yellow ball going around the purple ball. Now you'll notice as well I have three sets of buttons at the bottom. There to control the start and stop feature of these two rotations. And then I have a third set here to demonstrate another feature where you can show and hide objects or elements on the stage. So let's begin here by clicking stop for the purple ball. And you see how that stopped? The yellow ball is still rotating around the purple ball. So the yellow ball is actually a nested animation inside of the movie clip that has the purple ball, and those are nested inside of the movie clip that has the green ball. So let's just click go again, just demonstrate that that can start and stop. And then with respect to the yellow ball, I can stop that independently as well. So they do work independently of each other. Okay, so if I start this up again, they're both rotating. It might be a little hard to perceive sometimes when one is rotating around another, when it's rotating around a third ball. Let me demonstrate the show hide feature at this point. There it is. It's invisible, and then I can click the show button and it becomes visible again. Alright, so we've got two sets of start and stop buttons and a show and hide button. Okay, let's go back to our file and see how that was built. Just going to click back on my timeline here. Very simple timeline. One frame, two layers. One for my actions, which is my code, and one for the rest of my content. I could have subdivided that, but it wasn't really necessary in this case, as nothing's really overlapping. So what I have here, though, in my content layer is a movie clip. If I click on that and go to my properties, you'll see movie clip here, and I have given it an instance name, green_MC. And if I double click on that movie clip, we go inside of its timeline, and I'm just going to shrink the view here. And what I have in here is an animation of this movie clip. If I click on there, that's a movie clip called purple_MC that is inside of the green movie clip. And if I scrub my playhead, you'll see that it's doing a rotation once around the green ball. So the way we do that rotation is we select the movie clip and we go to our free transform tool and we take the center point from that movie clip and create the rotating axis where we want it, in this case in the middle of the green ball, so that it rotates around that point. Then it's just animated one time inside of our properties panel on the frame. Okay, let me go back to my selection tool and I'll just come into here and double click on this movie clip, and we have another movie clip nested inside of there. And in this case, same idea, except it's the yellow ball now that's animating around the static purple ball. And you can see the yellow ball's center point inside of the purple ball as well. Okay, so that's one movie inside of another movie inside of scene one. Okay, and I can navigate my way back up the food chain here like this. Alright, so I'll just open this up a bit here. So yes, it's all on one frame, and that's my movie clip that has the animation. Down below, I have my three sets of buttons. And you'll notice here again, if I go to my properties, they are buttons, and they also have instance names. Okay, now I didn't embed the text into the button, so it's just the raw text element sitting physically on top of the button. Okay. In this way, I guess it would be conceivable to use one common button and maybe change the tint on it. I think that's what I did here. So we might do that when we create our new buttons. Okay, and again, there's all my buttons with their instance names. The buttons are very simple. If I double click a button, it's just a button here. Actually, I think on today's lesson, we'll maybe even do a mouse over feature. Okay, very simple construction-wise. Let's look at our code. I'm going to call up my Actions panel. And so in Scene 1, on the main Scene 1 timeline, we are addressing the 6 buttons as well as stopping the playhead. Now, in this case, I guess this is redundant with the stop as I'm on a single frame, but it's safe to do so if I was to ever expand out. Okay, so let's address the buttons here, and I've got this based on a mouse click. Now here's I guess the magic, if you will. When we address a movie clip, it's addressed by its instance name and separated with dots. So I'm saying when this purple off button is clicked, the movie clip called green_MC will have its timeline stopped. And to start it, it's the same thing except we use the word play. Like that. Okay, so when this purple on button gets clicked, inside of the function, we have a declaration of the movie clip's name, green_MC, dot, and the command that will apply to that movie clip's timeline. In this case, it says play. So that starts the playhead. This one stops the playhead. Now here's the trick. I'm going to go down for the yellow ball, because the yellow ball is inside of the purple ball, which is inside of the green. You basically just put the hierarchy in the list. So we start with the green ball. Then we say, okay, go down another level inside of there, and I've named that one purple_MC. Then inside of there, execute the command play. All right, so this is how we address nested movie clips. It's known as dot syntax, and they're just put in the sequence. So if it's on the right, it's embedded inside of the object on the left. So this is getting deeper and deeper into the movie clip nesting as we move towards the right. And we have the same thing for the stop command there. Now the show and hide, again, we'll use the wizard for that, but it's a dot visible equals false hides, dot visible equals true shows. And you can see it's again connected to the object, in this case the movie clip's instance name. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now I had been playing with buttons in here, but we're not going to do that on this particular exercise. We'll do that on another one. So I'm just going to leave this alone. So really the only code you're going to need here is for your actions in frame 1. Okay, and again, let's give that a try. I'll go Control Test Movie in the browser. There it is. Stop, stop, hide, show, turn on the yellow ball's rotation, turn on the purple ball's rotation. All right, again, these work independently of each other. You are controlling the unique nested timelines with these sets of buttons. I noticed here too, I went into my publisher and set it to center. Maybe we can do that at the end as well. Okay, so at this point, let's go back to Adobe Animate and start a new file from scratch. Okay, so I'm just going to call up my timeline here again, and I'll temporarily close my Actions panel. And yeah, let's start a brand new file, new. And I'm just going to use the smaller format here, the standard size, but be sure to set it to platform type html5 canvas. All right, once I've done that, I'm going to immediately save that. And I've got a folder here that I'm saving these things, so I'll just call this a nested. Actually, I'll get you to use your last name. And whatever lesson number this is, I'm going to assume 03, but whatever it happens to be. Okay? And let's click Save. And we'll start here. I'm just going to go Fit in Window. And I know I hate working on the very bright white background, so I'm just going to soften that with my school bus yellow color. These types of choices you can make on your own, of course. And we'll just set up my layers. I only really have 2 layers that I need, so I'll say one for my actions and name it, and then create a second layer, and this one will go on the bottom ultimately for my content. Okay, and just make sure I type that correctly. All right, so I will drag content to the bottom here. And it's in the content layer that we're going to create all of our visual elements. So we'll start with the nesting. Okay, we'll create the animation. It's a ball with a smaller ball rotating around it, and then yet an even smaller ball rotating around the second ball. So I'll start with my oval tool. And let's just set some colors here. I guess I'll make this like a I'll make it like the sun, the earth, and the moon, I guess. So we'll start with yellow, and I will put a stroke around it. And the stroke is set at 2 right now. I'll see if I like that later. And I will generate the largest of all of the circles that I'm going to create. And I will double click that after I've created it. And I will increase the stroke to 4. Okay. Again, artistic choices. Now, immediately, I'm going to turn that into a movie clip. Modify, convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll call this one, let's just call it Sun. Okay, and click OK. All right, so I need to go into this movie clip and start to create some animations and other layers with the other circles. So I'll double click that, and I'll name this layer inside of there. I'll call it Sun, and we'll add another layer, and we'll call it Moon. And I guess I will go to my circle tool now, and actually, you know what? I'll call it Earth. Sorry, Moon will be the third one. Earth. Okay, and be cool if you had a little picture of the Earth, but I'm just going to draw a blue circle. And we'll go in here. And I may have to edit the color after. No, there it is. Okay. Make it smaller, make it about half the size, and give it a reasonable space away from the original circle. Okay. I'm going to select that by double clicking it, and we're going to turn that into a movie clip to begin with. Modify, convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll call this one Earth. Okay, and I should save as I go here, so I'm just going to hit Command S on my keyboard. And I want to animate that rotating around, so I'm going to need to use my free transform tool to move the center point of the blue circle to the center of the sun so that that becomes the axis for the rotation. I'm going to span this out as well while I'm here. I'm going to come down to frame 60, and I'll just drag down on both frames and hit F5 on my keyboard and come back to frame 1 here. Okay, so it's the Earth that I'm working with right now. And as I said, I want to rotate that. So I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to apply, we're going to use, I think we'll use a classic tween today. Create classic tween. Now there's a cool feature here that's associated with the layer. If I click on that first layer, because it's a classic tween, this also works on motion tweens, we have a rotate feature in the tweening. So I'm going to click on clockwise and leave that number as a 1, rotate once. So wherever I put the next keyframe, it will rotate one full rotation at that point. Now, one critical thing I haven't done yet, it's okay because I don't have my second keyframe yet, but I should have moved my center point to the middle of the yellow ball. So I'm going to do that right now. We need to move the center point with the free transform tool. It's the only tool that will move the center point. Now I'm just going by eye here, and if snapping's an issue, and I see it is, let me just undo that for a second and go to view, snapping. I'm going to turn off all of my snapping here. Seems like there was only one checkbox, and relocate that again. That's a lot easier. Okay, and that will be what it rotates around. So let me go to the files end of the timeline here, select that last frame, F6 to create a keyframe. Okay, now when I scrub, this should rotate one time around from keyframe to keyframe. And there we go. A very simple rotation, yet accurate. And wherever this keyframe ends up, it will complete the loop, if you will, of the rotation. So if there's more frames, we will slow it down. And I do intend to slow it down. So why don't I do that now? While I'm talking about it, I want my keyframes to go to frame 90, so it's going to be 3 seconds. As long as my playhead is not on that keyframe at the end, I can push it out. So I could put the playhead here. Do not select the layer frame, and just hit F5. You can go 1 frame at a time, or you can hold it down until you get there. Okay, now let me try this. I'm just going to go test movie right now. I'll save first, test movie, and see how fast that feels. Okay, and I think I'm going to slow it down even more. So maybe I'll go to 120, and I'll just close these other windows. Now, every time you test it, you will be jumping to the output window, so just click back on your timeline. And I'll reduce the visibility here again, and we'll push that out to 120. So with my playhead, again, in front of that keyframe. So anywhere in the span, really, is good. And just push that out to 4 seconds. I'm going to save that and do one more test movie. I'm going to do this off my keyboard shortcut. It would be Control Return on the PC, Command Return on the Mac. And I'm a little bit happier with that speed, so we're going to go with that. Okay. Back to Animate. Definitely want to save the file if I haven't. It looks like I have. Okay, so we've got one of the two animations done. We're going to nest inside of the blue ball. So let's go back to frame 1. Select the blue ball, which happens to be a movie clip, right? I'm going back to my selection tool at this point. Click on it once, Properties Object, establishing it's a movie clip. These are going to ultimately need instance names, so maybe I should give this one here now. I'll call it Earth _ MC. Okay. I'll have to come back to the scene 1 and name the top level Sun _ MC. But while we're here, let's double click on the movie clip called Earth. And now we're in its unique timeline. So we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to create another smaller ball that rotates around the blue ball. And since we know 120 frames is what we want, we'll span it out to frame 120. So I'll just start by naming this one Earth, since that's the blue ball. And we'll make a new layer, and we'll call that one Moon. Okay, and that's where we'll create our graphic. So if I select that frame, I'm going to go to my oval tool, and let's see here for color. I don't know. I'll just go with a green, I guess, here. Okay, and I want to make that sort of even half the size of the blue ball. I'm going to hold my Shift key down. Draw it in between the circles. That way you know it will not overlap the yellow ball when it's rotating around the blue ball. Once you've drawn that in, select the whole thing, convert that to a movie clip. We won't be going into that movie clip, but we need it to be a movie clip in order to establish the rotation on the timeline. So convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll just call this one Moon. Okay, and let's move the center point for the Moon to the center of the Earth. There we go. So now this will rotate around that axis. I'll go back to my selection tool and span out to frame 120. So drag down there on both layers and F5. Okay, back to frame 1 with the playhead. I'm going to save right now. Okay, so it's this that we want to animate around. So I'm just going to go right click on that first frame with the Moon and create a classic tween. Alright, now that I'm in here with the classic tween, I'll click on the frame, sorry, not on the object, but on the frame, and access through the properties the rotation feature. Again, I'll go clockwise, 1 rotation, and wherever I put the next keyframe is where the rotation will be complete. So we'll make it a seamless loop by going to the last frame, select that frame, F6 is the shortcut for keyframe, and I definitely want to save this. And if I scrub my playhead, I can ensure that it is rotating. Okay, so let's do a test movie for this as well. Test in browser, just to check the animation out. And yep, so the green ball is rotating around the blue ball, and the blue ball is rotating around the yellow ball. All right, so let's go back and start to complete this to prepare it for programming, for writing script that will control it. So the green ball, let's select that. Okay, yeah, and we're good to go. I actually don't need to give it an instance name because I'm not going into its timeline. This is kind of the end of the road for timeline control. But I will come back up to the sun and then come back up to scene 1 and name this movie clip on my top layer. So I'm going to name this one sun underscore MC. Hit my enter key for that and save. Okay, so we're pretty well done with the animated element that we're going to control ultimately with buttons. So let's create some buttons here now. We'll create 3 sets. I'll also do them on that same content layer. All right, so with that, maybe I will use the Polystar tool, and I'll use a polygon and create those little 5-sided shapes that you saw in the demo. So I'll create one here. And you just kind of have to find a happy place to line them up with respect to the orientation. And there we go. And I'm just going to change its color here right now. Let's see. So if this is meant for the earth, maybe I'll fill it with the blue. In fact, I can go to my eyedropper tool and sample that. There we go. And now I will turn that into a button. Modify. Convert to symbol. Button. And I'll call it blue underscore BUT. Okay. Now, if I want all of my buttons to be the same size but have some differences, such as color changes, I should duplicate them in my library after this. But I'm going to go into this button first and create a rollover feature. So I'll just go to the overstate, create a keyframe, F6, select the shape on the stage, and just make a change with the fill color. So I'm just going to make them lighter. And there we go. Okay, and save that. So as I said, I'm going to duplicate this in the library. And there it is there. So I right click it, duplicate. I'll call this one the green underscore BUT. Okay, there we go. And I'll drag that to the stage a little farther down the road. Now it looks exactly the same, so I will double click it and go in and change its colors. But it's a distinctly different element now from the library than this one, even though it looks the same. Okay, so we'll go in there to my properties and I'll just match that green. I'm not sure if I can do it nested like this. Let's see. Yes, it worked. There we go. Okay, and then I will go to the overstate. I'm going to match it again and then use a lighter version. Okay. Oh, actually I picked the wrong button there. Let's try that again with feeling, right? Okay, select it on the stage, go to my eyedropper and establish the color. Okay, and then click that on the stage, go to my color fill, and I will go to this color picker here and just do a lighter version like that. Okay, back up to scene 1. Definitely want to save that. And I'll do a third one, I guess, for the invisibility one. So back to my library again, duplicate the green button. I'll call this one visible underscore BUT. Okay, and I'll drag that to the stage. And I'll double click it and change some of its properties. In this case, it'll be the color. Now, I'm not sure what for visible and invisible. Let me see here. Okay, I'll just go with this sort of magenta looking color here. And for the overstate, I'll pick that lighter version of that, I guess, like that. Okay, so it goes from that to that when you mouse over it. Okay, back up to scene 1 and save my file. So I still need some stop buttons for this. At this point, let me try something here. I'm going to option click and drag, or it'd be alt click and drag on the stage. Click on there, go to color effects and try tint. And just, let's see here. Turn that to red. And maybe I'll do that for these 3. So this one here, I will option click and drag. Select it on the stage, turn the tint to red. Okay, and I'll do the same for this one. Option click and drag. This way I don't need to create new buttons in the library. Now if I wanted to retain that stroke, then I would have had to do that. Okay. Color, tint. Yeah, I'll keep them all red as a standard. It'd be like an on-off feature. And let's save that. And they will all need to have instance names. But I'll start by just putting the text label on each, I guess. Or I could put it below. So I'll start here, and let me just change that color to black. And the size probably will need to be changed, but I'll just say Earth. Yeah, so let me select all of that and make it much smaller. Maybe I'll make it regular. Okay, and just move that. I'm going to move it below the button. It'd be easier to read. Okay, now with this I can just option click and drag on the Mac or alt click and drag on the PC to duplicate these. And I'll just call this Earth Stop. Okay, so I can duplicate both of these if I select them both. I'm holding my Shift key down with my Alt key as well to constrain. And here I will call this one Moon. And change this word in here as well to Moon Stop. And then over here, I'll duplicate those again and drag them over with my Shift and Alt key down. This one I'll say visible. And I'm just going to nudge that over with my arrow keys. And this one I'll call invisible. I'll just select all the text here. Okay, my grunt work is almost done. Save that. File save. Okay, let's just have a look and see what this looks like. Right now all I can expect is the animation will run, and the buttons are not engageable yet, but they do have the rollover feature. Okay, so there we go. Just click back to animate and we'll start with the coding. I believe I named this already. Just confirming, yes, sun_MC, and if I double click on that, that movie clip nested inside is called Earth_MC. Alright, so let's go back up to scene 1, because we're going to need to know those when we address their timelines. The buttons all need names now as well. So I'll start with Earth, all lowercase, _BTN, and then Earth Stop _BTN. Okay, and then Moon _BTN, and then Moon Stop _BTN, and then my last set here, visible _BTN. Let me just make sure I spell that correctly. Wouldn't have mattered, it would still work, but it's nice to spell it properly. And then my last button here, invisible _BTN. Save that. And we're good to start to code this thing. We're going to code the whole thing inside of the Actions panel inside of the wizard. Okay, I'm just going to open this up a bit just to emphasize that all the code will go in frame 1 in my Actions layer. So I'm going to select that first frame in my Actions layer. Okay, and let's call up the code from Window, Actions. And I'll just move this up a bit here. And again, ensuring that I have the proper frame selected in my timeline, I can start to apply code using the wizard. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to start, play, and stop a timeline by clicking a button. Okay, so let's just go to the word play. Play which timeline? The one inside of SunMC. Click next. And how will that get triggered? It'll get triggered on a mouse click on the button called sun underscore, or rather, yeah, earth underscore btn, because we're going to be stopping the earth. Okay. All right. So we'll do the same thing, except we're going to do a stop command. So this one will be stop. Stop the movie clip called sun underscore MC on a mouse click with the earth stop button. Okay. We'll do that again for the set for the moon. So I'm just going to scroll down here and look for play. And we'll start with the sun underscore MC movie clip, but it is the movie clip nested inside of it. So we will have to come up here and modify the code by hand. So you see it did initiate with the sun underscore MC dot play, but we want to go inside of the movie clip inside of sun MC, and it is called earth underscore MC. And then we add a dot at the end of that. So what we're telling it here is to go into the movie clip called sun underscore MC. And in there is another movie clip nested called earth underscore MC. And then with the dot, we're saying go into that movie clip and execute this command, which is the play command, which moves the playhead. So let's finish this off with the trigger. Next, it will be triggered with a mouse click. And remember, this is to show the moon rotating around the earth, which is inside of that earth movie clip. So we'll use moon button and click finish and add. So we'll now add the stop version of that. So click add using wizard. And instead of play, I'm going to look for stop. There it is. And we'll start again in the sun movie clip. And we'll modify that. So I'll just click in here and add earth underscore MC, which is the instance name of the nested movie clip. And then add a dot. And the stop command will stop the playhead inside of the movie clip called earth underscore MC. So let's set the trigger. Click next. On mouse click, and this will be the moon stop button right here. Finish and add. I'm just going to save that. And we'll test that to make sure it all works. Okay, I'm just going to click this little play button up in the right corner. That's also a way to test your movie. And here we are. Okay, so let's try, we'll stop the earth to begin with. And I'll stop the moon. And it worked. Good. Okay, so I'll start the moon. And yes, that button works as well. So they both work as I'd hoped. And they do start and stop the moon. These two start and stop the earth. And these sets of buttons do work independently. So this is controlling the timeline inside of the actual movie clip called sun underscore MC. And these are controlling the timeline inside of the movie clip called earth underscore MC. And there we go. And there we go. So let's finish this off now with the visible and invisible features. Okay, and I'll just toggle back over to Animate. Call up my timeline. And just ensure again that I'm in that frame so that I can insert my code using the wizard in the actions layer. Okay, so we're dealing with visible and invisible. Add using wizard, and there is a show hide feature right here. Now it defaults to the show, I believe, so let's go and determine which element will be hidden here, and it's the one called sun underscore MC that we want to show and hide. And you see in the code here, this dot sun underscore MC dot visible equals true. So that's what we want. We want that to be associated with the visible button. So we'll click next here. And on mouse click, the button called visible underscore btn, finish and add. And we'll do the same thing now to hide it. Add using wizard, show hide, and we will pick the movie clip again, sun underscore MC. And here we actually have to manually change true to the word false, all lowercase. Then click next, and we'll choose the method on mouse click, and it will be on the invisible button, finish and add. Okay, we'll just save that, and we'll test that. Again, I'll just click the little play button here. And visible, okay, it's already visible, invisible. Boom, there we go. Show and hide. All right, So I think the one last little detail is I'll center this on the screen in the publishing settings. There we go. So let's just close that up and toggle back to Animate. And under File, Publish Settings, I'll just center it on the stage. There's a few things we can do. We can actually resize it if I want, but I'm just going to center it on the stage on both the horizontal and the vertical axis. Click OK, save that, and play one more time. And there we go. Now it's centered in the browser. Even if I change the browser width, it will stay centered. Okay, so quick test once again. Stop the Earth, stop the Moon, make it all invisible, and then make it visible, start the Moon, start the Earth. So that is our nested assignment for today, where we are controlling nested timelines using buttons and JavaScript code. And once you finish this, I'd like you to hand your FLA file onto Canvas.